All right, so I wanted to talk about how I arrange a song and how I started out um, writing and kind of figuring out all the parts as I go along. I always start with my bass line, and by the way, if the camera goes out, it'll just turn white down in that lower right corner. I got it to work this morning, but it's been kind of screwed up. I always start with the bass line and my drums, and I get my chord progression started out, and then I decide if, typically it's 3 or 4 chords and 4 measures for each sequence. And then I figure out if I'm going to change up chords in the pre-chorus and the chorus, or if I'm going to use those same 3 or 4 chords throughout the entire track. If I'm going to do that, if I'm going to use 4 chords, let's say, through an entire song, then I pay extra attention to changing it up in sections. For example, in a pre-chorus, I may take out the bass altogether and just have some other instruments going that aren't really signaling what the chord changes are. Staying in the same key, obviously. And then when it comes into the chorus, bring those same 4 chords back in. So after the bass and the drums, I like to sketch out a couple synthesizer parts, maybe an arpeggio like this one. Oops. Like that one. Then I take it section by section. So my verse will have some elements in it, and then my pre-choruses, I always attempt to build them up into the chorus. So for example, here a couple guitars come in.
Like a chain that I broke through, but there's still more I must do to get you.
And then in the chorus, obviously that's the fullest section. In this case, there's double-tracked guitars playing the power chords. There's a lead line. That same synth we heard is going through there. And what else do we got going? That's about it in this song. Then moving on to the second verse, I typically add a new element. In this case, it's an acoustic guitar going through.
Headlines spread.
And that's just mapping out the chord progression. There's also a few fills that go in between the vocal lines. Oh yeah, there's another guitar there. Let's go back to this. So there's that little synth hit that falls in between a vocal line as an answer phrase. There it comes in again.
Never noticed you. Maybe too many in the queue for you. I'm gonna figure out this.
Then when I get into the second chorus, I'll usually add some vocal ad-libs or maybe even an instrument. But through the years, I've been kind of stripping back my instrumentation and relying more on vocal effects and fills and things like that to kind of round out the arrangement. I used to make really dense electronic tracks with lots of synthesizers going on. This particular project is a little more rock-oriented, so I didn't do that. But you'll hear coming up, there's a little vocal fill. Right there. And that also falls in between a vocal phrase. And then there's another sort of answer phrase right here. Get there. So that happens in the out chorus as well. And then when I get to the bridge, I strip things back. And I like to have some sort of pronounced vocal that leads into that final out chorus.
Think I'll have another drink, 'cause it'll give me time to think.
So we have that really loud vocal part leading into that last chorus. And then also something I used to do in a lot of my EDM tracks is coming into the bridge and going out of the bridge, I have this sweep effect. So that leads you into the bridge, and then it'll sweep up going into the chorus. So that's kind of a standard EDM trick a lot of people use. And I like to do that in other ways as well. For example, in a pre-chorus, I might have a synthesizer that's kind of high-pitched, that's ramping up in pitch from, let's say, this song is in, well, we'll just pick a key. I think this one's in F. We'll start at a low F, like F2, and then ramp it up to F5, and it'll be sort of like a siren type synth patch. Yet I'll tuck that way in the background, so all you kind of do is sense there's some energy coming along, and that's going to lead you into the chorus. I didn't do it in this particular song, but that's something I tend to do on the more electronic mixes I do. And then, of course, on the out chorus, however you want to handle it, vamp out vocally, or in this case, it kind of strips down a little bit.
I think we'd make a really good alliance. What am I supposed to do to prove my worth to you?
And also, if I have a synth part that will work, I might bump it up an entire octave, like this part right here. So that was in a lower octave back here. Let's get there. So that's in the out chorus. I bumped it up an octave. In the past, a lot of people would just do like a super high-pitched drone, a synth, either like a string line, or not. It's not even a line. It's just on the tonic, and they would do it at like F5. Let's say the key is F, F5 or F6. And again, it would just be felt. It wouldn't be heard. But that high-pitched kind of string sound sitting way, way up there, again, adds energy to that out chorus. And that was very common in the 80s. I'm not sure if the 90s did it, but a lot of pop songs in the 80s certainly did. You might hear it on Madonna tracks and stuff like that. All right, so that was just kind of an overview, how I work. Each song is different. a lot of times, each part dictates what the next part should be. If I have an arpeggio going through the verses, I'm probably not going to add another arpeggio in any verse because it's going to clutter it up too much. Although I have done that, and if they're written so that they conjoin well and don't fight each other, then you can certainly do that. But be creative and add different elements as you go. Some people like to start out the song with a bang. They might start on the chorus. This one, I just took that guitar line that happens later in the chorus and used it as part of the intro, which worked well. So, be creative with your part selection, try different arrangement ideas, strip something out rather than adding something in, especially if you've already got some density to the track. Like let's say right here, we're in the pre-chorus. What would happen if I took out the drums?
Right now I'm holding on because you're my lucky charm tonight. Like a chain that I broke through, but there's still more I must do.
You can have a little fill leading in.
I'm gonna figure out the science.
So get creative. A lot of times, less is more. All right, I hope that gives you some ideas. I'll post another video soon. Like and subscribe, and thanks for tuning in.